Do you know someone who can't stop looking in the mirror or takes 500 selfies a day? We call them narcissists, and it's all thanks to this guy, Narcissus. He was the most beautiful man in Greek mythology. Everyone loved him. Men, women, nymphs, they all threw themselves at him. But Narcissus rejected them all. He didn't just say no, he was cruel. He told them they weren't good enough for him. One of his victims was a nymph named Echo. Echo had a problem. She was cursed by Hera to only repeat the last words spoken to her. When she saw Narcissus, she fell madly in love. She followed him through the woods. Narcissus shouted, "Who's there?" Echo replied, "There." Narcissus, "Come here." Echo, "Here." When she ran to hug him, he pushed her away and said, "I would rather die than let you touch me." Echo was heartbroken. She ran into a cave and cried until her body faded away, leaving only her voice. That's why we have echoes in mountains today. But the goddess of revenge, Nemesis, saw this. She decided to give Narcissus a taste of his own medicine. She cursed him. May he who loves not others love only himself. One day, Narcissus was thirsty. He knelt by a perfectly clear pool of water to drink. He saw a face in the water. He didn't realize it was a reflection. He thought it was a beautiful water spirit. He fell in love instantly. He tried to kiss the reflection, but the water rippled and the face disappeared. He tried to hug it, but his arms just got wet. He couldn't leave. He stopped eating. He stopped drinking. He just stared at himself, whispering, "I love you," to the water. Slowly, he withered away. He died right there on the riverbank, staring at his own face. When the nymphs came to bury him, his body was gone. In its place was a flower with white petals and a golden center. The narcissus flower. Daffodil. The lesson? It's okay to love yourself. Just don't fall in love with your selfie. Imagine you have been fighting a brutal war for 10 years. You are tired. You are traumatized. You just want to sleep. Then you land on a beautiful island. The locals don't want to kill you. They want to feed you. They offer you a flower, a lotus. You eat it. And suddenly, the war doesn't matter. Your wife? Who is she? Your home? Why would you want to go there? You just want to stay here and eat flowers forever. This is the land of the lotus eaters. It was the first major stop on Odysseus's journey home, and it was almost the last. The lotus wasn't just a fruit. It was a narcotic. In modern terms, these men were high. They lost their nostos, their desire to return home. In Greek mythology, forgetting your home is a fate worse than death. If you have no history, you are nobody. Odysseus sent 3 scouts to check out the island. When they didn't come back, he went to find them. He found them chilling with the locals, eyes glazed over, completely stoned. They said, "Captain, leave us alone. We are happy here." This was a different kind of monster. You can fight a cyclops with a sword. But how do you fight happiness? Odysseus realized the danger immediately. If his whole crew ate the lotus, the story would end right there. So, he did what a hard leader has to do. He didn't debate them. He physically dragged his crying, screaming men back to the ships. They were begging to stay. They were fighting him like addicts going through withdrawal. He tied them up under the rowing benches and ordered the rest of the crew to row away as fast as possible. "Don't eat the flower," he yelled. It's a terrifying lesson. Sometimes the biggest threat to your goals isn't a monster trying to kill you. It's the temptation to just give up, get comfortable, and forget who you are. Comfort is a trap. Have you ever been on a long road trip and you are literally 5 minutes away from home and then the car breaks down? Multiply that frustration by 1,000,000 and you get the story of Odysseus and the bag of winds. After escaping the Cyclops, day 23, Odysseus landed on the floating island of Aeolia. The king there was Aeolus, the keeper of the winds. Aeolus was a cool guy. He liked Odysseus. He wanted to help him get home. So he gave Odysseus a parting gift, a large bag made of ox hide. Inside this bag, Aeolus had trapped all the stormy, chaotic winds of the world. He only left one wind out, the west wind, to gently blow Odysseus straight back to Ithaca. The instruction was simple. Do not open the bag until you are home. It worked perfectly. For 9 days and 9 nights, the ship sailed smoothly. Odysseus was so determined that he stayed at the helm the entire time. He didn't sleep for 9 days. That is some serious micromanagement. Finally, on the 10th day, they saw it. Ithaca, their home. They were so close they could see people walking on the shore. They could see the smoke rising from their own chimneys. Odysseus, finally feeling safe, collapsed from exhaustion and fell asleep. This is where it all went wrong. His crew looked at the mysterious bag. They started whispering, "Why is the captain protecting that bag? I bet Aeolus gave him gold and silver. Yeah, he's keeping all the treasure for himself. It's not fair." Driven by greed and jealousy, they decided to share the loot. They untied the silver string. They didn't find gold. They released a hurricane. All the winds roared out at once. The force was so violent it spun the ship around like a toy. Odysseus woke up just in time to watch his home disappear over the horizon. They were blown all the way back to Aeolia. When they crawled back to King Aeolus, begging for a second chance, the king's mood had changed. He kicked them out. He said, "Get out. If you can screw up a gift that perfect, you must be cursed by the gods. I don't help cursed men." And just like that, a 10-day trip turned into a 10-year nightmare. The lesson? If your boss tells you not to open the bag, don't open the bag. If you think the Cyclops was bad, wait until you meet the Lestrygonians. This is the darkest day in Odysseus's 10-year journey. It's the day he stopped being an admiral of a fleet and became the captain of a single lonely ship. After the disaster with the Bag of Winds, Odysseus and his 12 ships arrived at a new land, Telepolos. It looked perfect. The harbor was calm, surrounded by steep cliffs. It was protected from the wind. 11 of his ships sailed right into the harbor and parked close together. But Odysseus? He was paranoid. Or maybe just smart. He had a bad feeling. So he parked his own ship outside the harbor, tied to a rock near the exit. That decision saved his life. They sent 3 scouts to meet the locals. They met a giant girl fetching water. She seemed nice. She took them to meet her father, the king. But when the king, Antiphates, entered the room, he didn't say, "Hello." He grabbed one of the scouts, tore him in half, and ate him raw. The other 2 scouts ran for their lives. But it was a trap. Thousands of giants, the Laestrygonians, appeared on the cliffs surrounding the harbor. They didn't use bows and arrows. They used massive boulders. They started throwing rocks down onto the 11 ships trapped in the narrow harbor. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. The ships were smashed to pieces. Wood shattered. Men screamed. Then the giants came down with spears, spearing the drowning sailors like fish to carry them home for dinner. From his ship outside, Odysseus watched the massacre. He watched his friends, his army, and his hope being devoured. He realized he couldn't save them. If he went in, he would die too. So he made the hardest call of his life. He drew his sword, cut the mooring rope, and yelled, "Row! Row for your lives." His single ship sped away into the open sea, leaving the screams behind. He arrived with 600 men. He left with about 50. The Odyssey just got real. If you heard a song that promised to tell you all the secrets of the universe, would you listen? Even if you knew it would kill you? Odysseus said, "Yes." After leaving Circe's island, Odysseus had to sail past the island of the Sirens. Now, forget the Little Mermaid. In original Greek mythology, sirens weren't sexy fish women. They were bird women. Creatures with the bodies of vultures and the heads of beautiful women. They sat on a pile of rotting bones, singing a melody so hypnotic that any sailor who heard it would jump into the sea and drown just to get closer. Circe gave Odysseus a life-saving hack. Put beeswax in your crew's ears so they can't hear a thing. But Odysseus? He was curious. He suffered from FOMO, fear of missing out. He wanted to be the only man alive to hear the siren's song and survive. So he ordered his men, "Tie me to the mast, tie me tight, and no matter how much I scream or beg, do not untie me." The ship approached the island. The men, deaf with wax, rowed steadily, but Odysseus heard it. The song wasn't just beautiful music, it was psychological warfare. The sirens sang exactly what he wanted to hear. They didn't sing about love. They sang about knowledge. "Come here, Odysseus. We know what happened in Troy. We know the future. We know everything." They targeted his ego and his hunger for wisdom. Odysseus went insane. He screamed at his men. He cursed them. He begged them to untie him so he could jump into the water and die. He strained against the ropes until his skin bled. But his loyal friends, Paramedes and Eurylochus, just stood up, tightened the ropes, and kept rowing. They were the real MVPs. Finally, the island faded into the distance. The song stopped. Odysseus collapsed, exhausted but alive. He learned a valuable lesson. You can't always trust your own willpower. Sometimes you need to be tied up to survive your own desires. Have you ever heard the phrase, "between a rock and a hard place"? In the Odyssey, the rock is a six-headed monster, and the hard place is a giant whirlpool, and Odysseus had to sail right between them. Here was the tactical nightmare. To get home, the ship had to pass through a narrow strait. On one side lived Scylla. Remember her from day 24? She lives in a cave high up on the cliff. She has 6 long necks and 6 heads. If you sail too close, she snatches 6 sailors instantly, 1 for each mouth. On the other side was Charybdis. Not a monster with a face, but a living whirlpool. 3 times a day, she sucks the entire ocean down into a black void and then vomits it back up. If you get caught in Charybdis, the whole ship goes down. Everyone dies. Circe had given Odysseus the math. If you go near Charybdis, you lose everything. If you go near Scylla, you lose 6 men. Better to mourn 6 men than to mourn them all. It's the trolley problem of Greek mythology. So Odysseus made a cold decision. He chose Scylla. But here is the controversial part. He didn't tell his crew. He knew if he said, "Hey guys, 6 of you are definitely going to get eaten," they would stop rowing and hide below deck. And then the ship would drift into the whirlpool. So, he lied. He gave a motivational speech. "Row hard, keep your eyes on the whirlpool, stay away from the spray." He directed them straight toward the monster's cliff. As they stared in terror at the roaring whirlpool on the left, Scylla struck from the right. It happened in seconds. 6 giant heads shot down from the cliffs. Odysseus turned around and saw his 6 strongest men lifted into the air, screaming his name. "Odysseus, help us!" He watched them dangling at the mouth of the cave, being devoured alive. And he did nothing. He couldn't help them. He had to keep the ship moving. Odysseus later said this was the most pitiful scene he ever saw with his eyes. He saved the ship. He saved the mission. But he paid for it with the lives of his friends. This is the dark side of leadership. Sometimes you have to choose who dies. You would think that after watching their friends get eaten by a 6-headed monster, Odysseus's crew would follow instructions. But never underestimate the power of hunger. After the horror of Scylla, the survivors landed on the island of Thrinacia. This was the home of the sacred cattle of Helios, the sun god. Odysseus had received a very specific warning from both Circe and the ghost of Tiresias. "You can stop there, but whatever you do, do not touch the cows. If you harm them, everyone dies." Odysseus told his men, "Listen, guys, there's plenty of food on the ship. These red cows are sacred, do not touch them. They agreed. But then the wind stopped. For a month, they were trapped on the island. Their bread ran out. Their wine ran out. They started hunting birds and fishing, but they were starving. Their bellies were empty, and the sacred cows were walking right in front of them, looking delicious. One day, Odysseus went inland to pray to the gods for help, and in classic Odysseus fashion, he fell asleep. Seriously, stop napping. While he was sleeping, his second-in-command, Eurylochus, gave a rebellious speech. "It is better to drown once than to starve to death slowly. Let's eat the cows and apologize later." The starving men agreed. They slaughtered the best cows and roasted them. When Odysseus woke up, he smelled the meat. He knew it was over. But the creepiest part? The gods sent a sign. The skins of the dead cows started crawling on the ground. The meat on the spits started mooing. Yes, the steak was mooing while it was being cooked. It was a horror show. Helios, the sun god, saw everything. He went to Zeus and threatened, "If you don't punish them, I will shine the sun in the underworld and leave the earth in darkness." Zeus said, "Relax, I got this." 6 days later, the wind finally returned. The crew launched the ship thinking they got away with it, but as soon as they were out at sea, a sudden storm hit. Zeus threw a massive thunderbolt directly at the ship. The ship exploded. All the men, Eurylochus and the rest, drowned. Only Odysseus survived. He clung to a piece of broken wood and drifted for 9 days, alone. He lost his fleet, his friends, and his ride, all because they couldn't stick to a vegetarian diet. Imagine washing up on a deserted island. But it's not a survival nightmare. It's a 5-star resort. And the owner is a stunningly beautiful nymph named Calypso. This is where Odysseus spent 7 years of his life. Not fighting monsters, but sleeping with a goddess. After his ship was destroyed by Zeus, Odysseus drifted on a piece of wood for 9 days until he reached Ogygia. Calypso found him, nursed him back to health, and fell madly in love with him. She wanted him to be her husband forever. She gave him the ultimate offer. "If you stay with me, I will make you immortal. You will never age. You will never die. We will live in paradise forever." For most men, this is the jackpot. But Odysseus? He was miserable. By day, he would sit on the rocks, staring at the ocean, crying his eyes out. He missed his home, Ithaca. He missed his son, Telemachus. And most of all, he missed his wife, Penelope. He told Calypso, "I know you are more beautiful than my wife. She will grow old and die. But I still want to go home." He chose the pain of mortality over the boredom of perfection. Finally, Athena felt sorry for him. She asked Zeus to intervene. Zeus sent Hermes, the messenger god, to deliver an eviction notice to Calypso. Let him go. Now. Calypso was furious. She gave a famous feminist speech. "You male gods sleep with mortal women all the time. But when a goddess sleeps with a mortal man, you get jealous and break it up." She was right, of course, but she had to obey Zeus. Reluctantly, she gave Odysseus an axe and some wood. She didn't use magic to send him home. She made him build his own raft. As he sailed away, Calypso was left alone on her island, heartbroken. Odysseus was free, but he was sailing towards his final challenge, reclaiming his kingdom.